Okay, now what? Are we talking?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I woke up this morning and I couldn't remember the name of this man that I had met when I was in New Orleans at the Mardi Gras. Logan sent me down to stay with a friend of his who was going to graduate school at Tulane University. And his name, if I can remember, Henry Glassy. He was an illustrator, and he did pen and ink drawings of outbuildings, and he was interested in all the outbuildings that a farm might have: a smokehouse, an outhouse, a corn crib, a chicken coop, and that was his trip. And he was a kind of scholarly kind of guy, even though he also belonged to the Dulcimer Society, which was this gang of thieves from Washington, D.C. that Logan had known. So I get down to Henry Glassy's house, and he said, yeah, come on in, here's a place you can stay. And he said, oh, by the way, I got some other friends in town here from the Dulcimer Society. This man's name is Paul Clayton, and I was later to learn that Paul Clayton was a pretty famous folk singer, and he wrote that 500 Miles song, you know. If you miss the train I'm on, yeah. Huh. And I went, wow, I'm meeting a guy that wrote a real song. But Paul Clayton was a very strange man. Very, very strange man. He had come down to Mardi Gras, and he'd gone down to the Goodwill and bought himself a complete United States Navy outfit, you know, the big bell bottoms and the cap and everything. He was
like the blue wool ones?
Yeah, he was dressed up like a sailor, and he looked like a sailor. Well, the thing about New Orleans is it was full of sailors at that time, because they'd all come. I don't know why they were there in February, but they were all there. And so Paul Clayton was kind of hustling young sailors for reasons. Well, maybe I shouldn't talk about Paul Clayton's sexuality, but I come to find that that's supposed to be going on, and I didn't have a clue because I'm just Mr. Dumbo from Dayton. But Paul Clayton was a nice guy, and he never did anything weird around me, but he kept coming and walking into my conversations with Henry Glassy and saying, hey Henry, I ran out of lead again. And he was theoretically he was writing something, and what he was really after was more marijuana, because he kept running out of it, and he was in his room getting high and playing guitar and doing whatever else he did in his Navy costume. So there's Paul Clayton, and Paul Clayton was a really sweet guy, nice man. And here I am meeting this guy who's like completely famous, and right from David Logan's little gang of thieves in D.C. So I felt like I was really being privileged. And then before I could say kazam, another guy shows up from the Dulcimer Society in Washington, D.C., and his name was Fang, and I thought that was pretty weird. And
Diller's husband?
And he was a blues guitar player, and he had a 7-string guitar, which was way cool because he'd copied it off of some other old guy, you know. But I was just infatuated with him, and he had a little skull and crossbones inlaid in the headstock of his guitar, a Gibson guitar. And his real name was Tom Hoskins. And little did I know that he was on the pursuit to rediscover Mississippi John Hurt. And he was trying to find Mississippi John Hurt through a bunch of recordings that he personally owned. And shortly after we all left New Orleans and went back to our homes, Tom Hoskins went straight up into the state of Mississippi and found Mississippi John Hurt and got him up and off to Washington, D.C., where they started a label called the Piedmont label, and they did the first real recordings of Mississippi John Hurt.
Huh.
So it was pretty weird. It was pretty weird to be in Henry Glassy's house and meet all these people that were like real movers and shakers in the music business, and me just being there kind of not even taking notes, you know what I mean?
Well, it looks like you took mental notes.
I took mental notes, yeah, I did. I didn't forget a thing. Anyway, is that enough?
Okay.
Okay.